Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys, welcome back. So I'm going to be talking about ICP and Ethereum in this video. I want to talk about ICP as a scaling solution, but highlight how, yes, it offers faster, cheaper transactions like other scaling solutions, but it also offers additional things that other scaling solutions don't. So this is a little bit different than the Bitcoin integration because the Bitcoin integration was primarily focused on faster, cheaper transactions, more secure transactions. But with Ethereum, it's a little bit different because you have so many tokens that have launched on Ethereum, and they're also using Big Tech Cloud for their front end. So covering all of that, also want to cover like the next 20 years, 20, 25 years, and just give you my outlook as far as how I see this playing out. I have one slide in here that pretty much sums up my entire investment thesis for this. Whether or not it's going to be accurate, I have absolutely no idea. Nothing's ever a sure thing. This is not financial advice, but I'm going to go over that as well. And then just a few additional things. Some of this are things that I've been over in previous videos. Some of it will be new. I'm going to try to tie it all in together because I see a lot of people talking about CK Ethereum. And while, yes, I do think that is important, I think there's a much bigger picture thing here with Ethereum's ecosystem and ICP's ecosystem really just becoming one thing over a long enough time frame. All right. Okay, so we're talking about growing the ICP ecosystem. When you look at ICP right now, the different applications that have launched and that are currently people are using in the ICP ecosystem that are built end to end on ICP, all of that's great, okay? But when compared to all the different quote unquote tokens that have launched on Ethereum, Ethereum has significantly more projects that have launched, but they've really just launched their token on Ethereum, all right? Ethereum's not handling all the computation. And so, how I see ICP's ecosystem growing, I do think there'll be more and more things built end to end on chain. However, I think a lot of the different DeFi applications that launch their token on Ethereum are going to migrate their front end to ICP. And I'm going to refer back to a video Dominic did like a year and a half ago. I've referred to this at some point during the channel, but it was during the Bitcoin integration video that he did. It's on the dfinity site on the YouTube page. And he says in the second half of that video, he was like, what we might see over time, and I'm paraphrasing here, is that Ethereum just becomes a DeFi settlement layer, right? And so that's what I think he meant by that, was that you have all these different tokens, that these DeFi protocols that launch their token on Ethereum, but they use Big Tech Cloud for their front end. They could migrate, they could leave their token on Ethereum. Okay, Ethereum continues serving the exact same function that it's serving now, but they migrate their front end to ICP, and ICP replaces the Big Tech Cloud component of this. All right. And if I'm being honest, I think this is just how it was designed. That makes the most sense to me. That way, all of these different protocols could launch 2, 3, 4 years ago, gain a user base, name recognition, continue to build out different functionality that they have within their application. And then after ICP launched, after the Ethereum integration went live, because that's important here too, because if ICP canisters can speak to Ethereum smart contracts and vice versa, the two networks really do become kind of one network to the degree that it's technically possible, right? And so if you have this integration in place and you have that connectivity canisters to Ethereum smart contracts, running the front end through ICP, it eliminates the big tech component of this and all the risks that come along with that. And there's no real barriers ICP to Ethereum because the full integration is in place. So that's how I see the world computer coming together with ICP and Ethereum in a general sense. Okay. And I'm not going to get into all the unique functionality that will be available here for these Ethereum-based applications. If in theory they did migrate their front end to ICP and they just completely ditched big tech, but there's just a lot of advantages and benefits to them doing that. All right. Okay. So we've been over this design before and the issues with this design and how this is a bigger problem in the retail space for retail-based applications, stuff like DeFi, stuff like Web3 gaming. And just pause really quick. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. But, I see people talking about, Web3 gaming. Web3 gaming is going to be the new big thing, right? And they don't even mention ICP. It's like, it's blowing my mind. And these are people with huge platforms. And it's like, I don't know what people, we need to define Web3. We really do, because this is just Web 2. This is just Web 2 with blockchain enabled functionality with payments. That's pretty much it. Right. And so if we're really talking about Web3, we need to define what that is. And so many people are talking about Web3 gaming. They're not even mentioning ICP. It blows my mind. So we've talked about the general issues with this, hacks, security issues, and again, more so for retail than it is for the enterprise space. That's important because I don't think these scaling solutions are just going, and these other layer ones, they're not just going to go away because there's this massive operation in the enterprise space. And they don't have the same issues that a Web3 startup would have because they have the security infrastructure already there. All right. Now, I do think, and I'm going to get into this later in the video, that those are going to be rebuilt with canisters over a long enough time frame, but I think it's going to take a very long time. Hacks, you're at the mercy of big tech. Big tech could tell you to collect user data. They could just shut you down in general. You could spend 3 to 4 to 5 years as a Web3 startup building out your technology, adding new functionality, hiring new developers, so on and so forth. And then they could just pull the plug on. Right. And also, more times than not, with this design, there are centralized custodians somewhere in the mix. Okay. And this doesn't just apply to Ethereum and Ethereum-based applications. Yes, the integration with the full connectivity ICP canisters to Ethereum smart contracts, yes, that would be a unique thing to ICP and Ethereum. However, tokens that have launched on other networks, from the best of my understanding, similar to what Aster Network has done, they can use, as opposed to using big tech, similar to this design here, just insert whatever other layer one and then insert whatever other token / app is using big tech infrastructure. I'm pretty sure they can still use ICP for their front end. There might not be the same degree of connectivity there, ICP canisters to their smart contracts, but I'm pretty sure they can still use ICP for their front end, and it would still offer significantly more benefits than doing it through big tech. All right. And to that point, like we've seen Aster Network, and this is from their website, okay? And I'm going to get into the big component here in a second, which is the next 20, 25 years, kind of how I see this playing out. But with Aster Network specifically, this was from their website. They were talking about the importance of blockchain interoperability and how this is all going to come together over time and how these different networks are going to work together. But it says, did you know that Aster Network also exists at Aster Portal also exists as a decentralized front end on ICP? All right, so the same concept or a similar concept applies to other networks, other tokens or apps that have launched on other networks as well, not just Ethereum. All right. Okay, so main takeaway here is over the next couple years, 2-3 years, I think that it's probably likely that we start to see some of these Ethereum-based applications move their front end to ICP. All right. And back to a topic I was just kind of going off about on a second was Web3 gaming. There was just an article that was put out by CoinDesk, and I saw a couple of y'all share this. I think Fire Risk shared it, Dominic shared it, and it's a good article. They don't mention, I don't think they mention, I just did a speed read through all of it. They don't mention ICP or dfinity in there, but they talk about fully on-chain gaming. And there's so many things that are referred to about Web3. It's like specific functionality they're talking about that only ICP can do. But yet ICP is not mentioned. But if you understand what these different networks can do, their capabilities, their limitations, unless there's something else out there that can do everything that ICP can do that we just don't know about. And I mean everything, not just like bits and pieces. That's been a big thing I've gotten over the last year and a half is, oh, well, this thing can do data storage, or this thing has a Bitcoin integration, or this thing can do front-end hosting, or whatever it may be. And yes, there are things out there that do 10, 20, maybe 30% of what ICP does, but nothing end to end. And that's why there's no other Web3 applications right now that people are using that are built end to end on chain, because these other technologies were not set up. That's not how they're supposed to be used. All right, in my opinion. Okay, so this is important too. ICP as a layer 2. I don't know if I already went over this. I'm kind of jumping all over the place. But yes, faster, cheaper transactions. So what are the other Ethereum layer twos being used for? Faster, cheaper transactions, right? And so ICP can also be used for faster, cheaper transactions. But as we've just been over throughout the first part of this video, you can also use ICP as an alternative to big tech cloud. So it has a whole nother use case that these other scaling solutions don't have. That solves a pretty big problem. All right, having unique use cases and different functionality than others, it is as important as the problem that it solves. And ICP pretty much has solutions for the biggest problems in the space. And I know that over a long enough time period, a lot of these things may just seem like, they're talking points or whatever. Guys, ICP is the only place you can build end-to-end applications on chain right now, okay? While I may say that a lot, I say that a lot for a reason. It's not a talking point. It's probably one of the more important things to be discussing. Because I saw this week where, Discover was integrating, I think, the Solana wallet, or they were enabling Solana functionality or whatever it is. And I think for a brief second that some people might have forgot that you can't build end-to-end applications on these other networks. All right. And too often, because the mainstream narrative and how just delusional the mainstream narrative for crypto is, because of that, I think a lot of times people, even in the ICP space, start looking at ICP, and comparing it to other layer ones. And it's the gap in functionality is just way too wide. And it's not just faster and cheaper. Okay, when most people are talking about some new thing, some new layer one they're invested in, what are they primarily saying? It's faster, it's cheaper, so this is the future, right? So we're not just talking about faster and cheaper. That's not even really the big differentiators. The big differentiators is all the functionality. The big differentiators is things like being able to tokenize videos on chain. When we're talking about Web3, read, Web 1, Web 2, read, write. Web 3, read, write, own. So we're going to own like our crypto, like our assets themselves, but we're not going to own like our data, videos, stuff like that, right? It's, again, Web 3 has been branded itself as read, write, own. And only ICP checks all these boxes as it stands right now. So as a scaling solution for Ethereum, yes, faster, cheaper, but also alternative to big tech. And another point, it bridges the gap with Bitcoin. The different Bitcoin solutions that are on Ethereum right now do not compare to the Bitcoin integration with ICP. Now, how they're going to bring all of this together, I remember asking about this back in the day about, after the integration is complete and after all that's done, is it possible that Ethereum DeFi applications, right, or DeFi applications that are native to Ethereum, launch their token on Ethereum, is it possible that they could also access the Bitcoin functionality, the Bitcoin integration? So this checks boxes that the other scaling solutions don't check. Now, I do still think those other scaling solutions will be used in the enterprise world for reasons that I've been over in previous videos. But this all can't happen within like a day or a week or even a month or a year or anything like this. This is the biggest technical operation ever in world history, in my personal opinion. If we are in fact moving to an environment where everything is on chain, if that is in fact where this is going, I'm not saying that's a certainty. Nothing's ever a sure thing. This is not financial advice, but if that is where this is going, this is the biggest technical operation. It's already the biggest technical operation ever, just with incorporating blockchain distributed ledger systems into all of our existing cloud-based applications and platforms. Just with that alone, it's the biggest technical operation ever that I've ever seen in my lifetime. But if you want to add on top of that, rebuilding everything on the blockchain and then re-implementing it with all the institutions that use these systems, this is so big that this is going to take a while, in my opinion. Okay. All right. So the next 20 years, and again, I don't even know if I've already jumped over this, but so big tech cloud right now, pretty much all software applications and platforms that we use, that institutions use, they run on big tech infrastructure. All right. And there's more here, but these are the main players, right? So that those different players pretty much dominate the entire web. So how I see this playing out over the next 20, 25 years is right now, let's say they have 100%, just for the sake of this example, 100% runs through these different providers. Well, I think slowly over time, over the next couple decades, give or take 5, 10 years, whatever, we're going to see less and less things running on big tech infrastructure and more applications and platforms running on chain. And it's just going to slowly, methodically transition to 100% on-chain environment. That's how I see this playing out. There's a lot of technical reasons why I think that this would happen. The only real issue that I could see here is maybe ICP has scaling issues itself with being able to support this big of a workload. But if that's not going to be an issue, and if they continue to build out their infrastructure, and if they can continue to support more and more of a workload as they build out their infrastructure over time, then this is where I see it going, because there's just too many technical advantages to being end-to-end on chain versus anything else that's going on right now. All right. And to that point, if we're really going, if Web3 really is read, write, own, then there's nowhere else where this can happen. So if I could sum up the next 20, 25 years, how I see it playing out, this is the one slide that I would show. I don't know whether or not this is going to happen. This is just my big picture thesis in one picture. All right. But it would need to happen slowly and methodically, because let's just say, speaking hypothetically, that the people who run the world were like, we're going to put everything on chain. We're going to put it all on ICP right now. It's not possible. Okay. It's not possible. Infrastructure is not built out yet. And on top of that, you would have to rebuild a lot of these systems. Maybe with a similar quote unquote design, but you would still have to build these systems and then re-implement them. So this is going to take a very long time, in my opinion. But this is how I see it playing out. And for starters, the first things I think will start to move towards ICP as far as the front end and away from big tech are going to be Web3 applications, whether that be Ethereum-based applications or applications that their token is native to another network. That's how I see this starting. Now, over this long transitionary process, there's going to be a lot of other technologies used as well, right? Because sitting here today, ICP can't support everything. All right, the functionality, it has to continue to be built out, have to continue to build out new integrations with other networks, and they need to continue to build out their infrastructure so they can actually support that degree of a workload. So in the meantime, during, as this gradually progresses, there's going to need, to fully tokenize the economy, you're going to need to use a bunch of additional technologies. All right. Okay. So let me go back, just make sure I've covered everything here. If we are moving, well, this was just the point I made. If we are moving to an environment where 100% of everything is on chain, it's going to take a while. All right. So I would get comfortable. And another point is that the bulk of this, in my opinion, so the second part of this green arrow is going to be enterprise systems being rebuilt on chain and then re-implemented into the institutions that use them. And I just think it's going to take a very, very long time. All right. Okay. Over that time period, I just mentioned that as well. We couldn't magically move everything right now, or even over the next 12 months, even if they wanted to. Okay. Things need to be rebuilt and re-implemented. And I think it's just going to be a slow, methodical migration over time. And so when we're talking about Web3, right, you own your crypto, whether it's ICP or something else, right? You have the keys to it. You own it, right? Digital ownership is a new concept that we're all going to be getting used to over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years. But if read, write, own is truly the promise of Web3, how are we going to own our videos? Right. And I'm not just saying for like content creators, right? You buy a video, you buy a movie, you buy whatever it is, a song, right? How are we going to own that data? Right now, it's looking like ICP. And so it checks all the boxes. And when we were talking about everything being tokenized, when I'm mentioning tokenized videos and people just act like it's just another talking point, it's like people all day, every day are talking about tokenization, tokenization, tokenization. Do you not think videos are going to be tokenized? Do you not think other forms of media is going to be tokenized? And if the answer you come to is yes, okay, where is that going to be? And the answer is the only place is ICP. All right. So tokenized videos is not some minor thing. The fact that ICP, you can build end-to-end applications on chain and you can't other places, that's not a minor thing. That's the thing. It's the thing. I do briefly want to mention something. There was a little scare earlier this week about BoomDAO, right? And, I'm not going to get into my thoughts on the situation itself. I largely agree with Jerry's take and with So Marler's take, all right? So if you want to know my thoughts on it, I largely agree with them. But the big point here, guys, let's say BoomDAO fails. Let's say BoomDAO goes to zero later today. Does that change anything that I've been over in this video? No, it doesn't. ICP is still the only place you can build end-to-end applications on chain. ICP is still the only network that is natively executing transactions on other networks. All right. ICP is the only solution that can offer all of these different things for Ethereum and Ethereum-based applications. Just to the point we were just making about tokenized videos, right? Digital certificates, what Origin is doing. And not just that, the future of social media. I don't think that we're going to be I'm going to be uploading videos like this in the future. I think I'm going to be uploading them as NFTs. Same concept with streaming platforms. All right. Okay. And yes, if you combined 3 or 4 or 5 of these other technologies in the space, you could get comparable, not equal, but comparable functionality. It just wouldn't have the same degree of security and it wouldn't be able to scale nearly as much as ICP. So you would have to combine 3 or 4 or 5 different other technologies just to get comparable functionality. All right. And again, these are not, I know that when you hear these things a lot, it might sound like they're talking points or whatever, but this is the big thing, guys. Okay. BoomDAO or any other application on ICP can go straight through the floor later this afternoon, and it doesn't change anything that I just went over. All right. And back to a point that I made about a year ago in that video I shared in my community tab like a week or so ago, talking about the great migration that I do think will happen. It's just a matter of time. So I can give you an exact time frame, but I do think this is going to start happening at some point. Back to that point, there's going to be a lot of things. If ICP is what we expect it to be, if it is going to be the open public internet, there's going to be a lot of applications that launch on ICP that don't make it. Right. So it's like, I would just set your expectations. And I'm not saying I hope the best for BoomDAO. I hope the best for ICX, but there's going to be applications that don't make it. All right. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden ICP is failing now and dfinity needs to do something and right. It doesn't change. 1 or 2 ICP based applications could go to zero today and it wouldn't change anything that I just went over. Okay. It wouldn't change the fact that ICP is light years ahead of everything else. So always separate out application level, network level. All right. Because the huge differentiators here for ICP is the network level functionality relative to everything else. And any application that launches on ICP that goes to zero does not change any of that. There will just be something that comes along after them that builds a better product. Okay. That's all I got. That's all I got. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This was not financial advice. Do your own research. I probably went over the same thing maybe 2 or 3 different times because I was jumping all over the place. So I do apologize for that. But that's it. That's all I got. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Again, not financial advice. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.